under the Obama administration, they constantly, the conservative news media was breathless about the caravans. The caravans, you know, like just, oh, massive caravans are making their way from Latin America to the southern border. You know, bigger caravans than we can possibly imagine. Well, I mean, they're returning to that well, okay? They're returning to that well. Here is PragerU talking about the dangers of the largest migrant caravan making its way to the southern border of the United States. Look at how scary they are, guys. Look at how scary they are with their strollers and their children they're giving piggyback rides to, and the crosses and the signs begging for mercy. Wow, they're wowee, so dangerous looking. Mix Beals, thank you for hosting. Wait, is this just gonna be B-roll of like a migrant caravan? On-binary superpowers, thank you so much for hosting as well. Okay, so that was just 30 seconds of like people with like babies. Also, Jesus, imagine having to trek across all of Latin America in flip-flops.
Every sensible immigration policy has two objectives.
Who the fuck is this absolute Halloween monster?
One, to regain control of our borders.
Charles Krauthammer? Who's this guy? Let's see. Ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. Dang, this guy wanted radically higher energy taxes. Wowee. I can't believe he's on PragerU. Oh, he also doesn't believe in global warming. Okay. Cool, cool. Okay, cool. Cool. He's also against the two-state solution. All right, cool. Very cool. All right, seems like a wonderful human.
So that we decide who enters, and two, to find a humane way to deal with the 11 million illegal immigrants who now live among us.
Here's the thing, guys. You know how you regain control of a border? You follow international law when it comes to people requesting refugee status. It turns out, or wait, is it? I'm thinking of a word that starts with A. Amnesty? That doesn't sound right. Asylum. Thank you, Irked. My brain fart. Yeah, it turns out when people come seeking asylum, best way to do that is just to have them like go and request asylum. Like that, it turns out that like you don't need to enter a country any specific way in order to request asylum. Turns out you can cross the border anywhere and request asylum. It like you don't need to that is part of our legal process for entering the United States. Now, find a humane way to deal with 11 million illegal immigrants. Well, the best way to do that would be to offer them a pathway to citizenship, right? Then they can continue to work and live in the United States. Seems like a pretty easy fix.
Start with the second, for both practical and moral reasons.
Wait, you listed two things and you're starting with the second thing? I mean, okay.
America cannot and will not and should not expel 11 million people. That leaves us with two choices. Ignore them or figure out a way to legalize them. Ignoring them hasn't worked. But there's also a huge problem with legalization. It creates an irresistible incentive for new illegal immigrants to come. We say, of course, that this will be the very last, very final, never again, we're not kidding this time, amnesty.
Wait. Just have a process for it. You don't need to like stamp it once. You can have like a process for people to go through. What are you talking about?
And everyone knows it's phony. That's what was said in 1986 when we passed the Simpson-Mazzoli immigration reform. It turned out to be the largest legalization program in American history. Nearly 3 million people got permanent residency.
Well, that's largely because most of our immigration policies prior to that had been about like keeping the Chinese out, or Operation W slur to deport brown people.
There was no enforcement. We now have 11 million new illegal immigrants in our midst. The irony of...
Wait. When was the 3 million? Was that... Did he say the Simpson-Mazzoli? Okay, so in 1986, we accepted 3 million people. So yeah, in between 1986 to now, there are now 11 million. Fine. That it seems like if we have to do it, even if you didn't want to set up a process that would be ongoing, and you had to re-stamp citizenship for people every, I don't know, well, right now, we're at like 35 years? I don't know, that seems fine to me.
When we passed the Simpson-Mazzoli immigration reform, it turned out to be the largest legalization program in American history. Nearly 3 million people got permanent residency. There was no enforcement. We now have 11 million new illegal immigrants in our midst. The irony of this whole debate, which bitterly splits the country.
I do have to ask, is he saying that people who are undocumented in 2021 are coming here because of a policy signed into law in 1986? Because I'm gonna go out on a limb, guys, and say that that's not the case. That's not why people are still coming here.
Is that there is a silver bullet that would not just solve the problem, but also create a national consensus behind it. A vast number of Americans who oppose legalization and fear new waves of immigration would change their minds if we could radically reduce new, i.e. future, illegal immigration. And we can. First, build a barrier.
Oh my
gosh. Call it a wall, call it a fence.
Right. Yeah. No one's gonna get over walls.
Call it what you will. Add cameras and sensors, add drones, beef up the patrols. All that matters.
Okay, you're gonna build... Okay. Just as a FYI, guys, building all of the infrastructure for this would cost, like, hundreds of billions of dollars. We could literally just build, like, space stations with that kind of money, you know? And not to mention the fact that you would have to man hundreds, if not thousands of miles of wall and, like, build entire, like, communities to enforce this. That would be, like, by the way, unpoliceable except by ICE. ICE would just become, like, the Gestapo at this point. Like, jeez.
Is that we regain control of the border. Fences work. The triple fence...
No, they don't. Actually,
outside San Diego led to a 90% reduction in infiltration. Israel's
led to in infiltration. Hey guys, do you know why it led to a 90% reduction in infiltration? Do you know why the number went down? Even if you acknowledge, even if it, like, just taking him at his word, can you guys conceive of any reason why it would go down? People just went around the wall. They just went around the wall. It's not that they weren't getting to San Diego, they just went around it. Like, not only that, but yeah, there are literally, like, trees near the wall on the Mexican sides of these places. Migrants just cut down the trees and make, like, ramshackle ladders to, like, get over the barriers. Like, they can do that. Turns out we've had ladder technology almost as long as we've had wheels. It's not difficult. Yeah, a strong wind blew it down once. Yeah, one earthquake, that entire wall collapses, okay? Actually, you know what? That's true. That's true, Tiny. We've had ladders longer than we've had wheels. You know, like, non-wheel having civilizations definitely had ladders.
With the West Bank produced a similar decline. Even holier-than-thou Europeans.
Wait. Just real quick. Can any of you think of a reason why the West Bank might have difficulty crossing, like, people from the West Bank might have difficulty crossing over into Israel that has very little to do with the walls and far more to do with the fact that Israel has, like, snipers and drones, and will indiscriminately kill children?
Produced a similar decline. Even holier-than-thou Europeans have conceded the point. Hungary, Macedonia, Bulgaria, Austria, Greece, Spain, why even Norway have all started building border fences to stem the tide of Middle Eastern refugees.
You know what? Let's fact check that real quick. Spain border wall. Let's see. Oh, okay. So there is not a wall around the entirety of Spain. There's a wall around between the city of Melilla, which is one of two Spanish cities in North Africa. So, yeah, there is a wall around one city in Spain that is in another country. Okay, well, I don't think this diagram is accurate to the actual scale of this. Just as an FYI, if Norway built an entire wall along the entire coast of its neighboring country, like, do you know how much money that would cost, even if it was just a fence? Even if it was just a fence, that would be astronomical for literally no gain. You know, like, guys, you know that like when you build a border wall, that border wall isn't like generating money. It's literally keeping people out of your country who would otherwise work. It's explicitly slowing your economic growth. The ladder may be about 10,000 years old. Whoa. Okay. It's almost twice as old as the wheel. You know, it took a while to get the wheels turning, all right?
Then enforce two other measures. A national e-verify system that makes it just about impossible to work if you're here illegally, and a functioning visa tracking system, since 40% of illegal immigrants are visa overstays. The wall fence will, of course, be ugly. So are the concrete barriers to keep truck bombs from driving into the White House. Sometimes function has to supersede form. And don't tell me that this is our Berlin Wall.
It quite literally is.
When you build a wall to keep people in, that's a prison. When you build a wall to keep people out, that's an expression of sovereignty. Of course, no barrier will be full.
Wait, you realize that, like, Americans going to Mexico to get illegal drugs would be kept in our country by a wall?
Proof. But it doesn't have to be. It simply has to reduce the river to a manageable trickle. Once we do, everything becomes possible.
Here's the thing, though. It's already manageable. We have the resources to process every asylum seeker. We have the resources to assimilate 11 million people into this country. We have the resources to do that every single year. We just don't. Even though if we did, it would boost our economy exponentially.
Including dealing with our 11 million illegal immigrants. So let's
this is a Weekend at Bernie's type situation. It's really sad.
Fix that. Track the visas, do we verify, build the damn barrier. It's ridiculous to say that it can't be done. And who would certify that the border is back in our control? I would have a neutral party, perhaps a commission of retired jurists, issue the judgment. Once they do, we legalize the 11 million, granting them the right to stay and work here. We can't give them citizenship. That's a bridge too far. You don't get to join the political destiny of the country by entering it illegally. But any children born here would be American, which means that over time, the issue resolves itself. The American people are legitimately angry at the price American society has paid due to illegal immigration.
American society hasn't paid any price due to illegal immigration. Illegal immigration is a net benefit to our economy. We actually benefit from illegal immigration. Undocumented migrants produce far, far more for our society and receive far fewer social benefits. Yeah, like, guys, you realize, like, undocumented immigrants don't have access to things like Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, tons and tons of different programs. In some states they do, most states they do not, okay? And of course they are paying taxes when it comes to things like sales tax, or if they have been accepted as part of like the Dreamer programs. Like, there are so many different ways that undocumented immigrants currently don't actually get benefits from the government or taxpayer money, but they pay into that system regardless. TLDR, American food is trash. More immigration means more food and cultures. True. More immigration means we get better food. I don't know. This Weekend at Bernie's motherfucker is getting on my nerves. Oh, January 6th stuff. Hey, we just finished talking about that too. Now we're talking about how conservatives are rehashing all of their talking points from under the Obama years to see what sticks.
But they are also a generous people. Once they're assured that we do indeed control our borders, that anger will abate. A national consensus will emerge. Radical border control followed by radical legalization. No mushy compromise.
You know, in a way, this guy is kind of like really idealistic. Like, really. Y'all think that conservatives would like push for like strict border control policy and then be like, yes, we will legalize the 11 million undocumented immigrants? No, they're not gonna do that. Sorry. That's not how conservatives work in this country. As soon as they can, they're gonna be shipping all those people off as fast as they can. In another time period, he could have been a leftist. I mean, I guess.
A solution requires two acts of national will. Putting up a wall along with E-Verify and visa tracking, and absorbing those who broke our laws to come to America. This is not a compromise meant to appease both sides without achieving anything. It's not some piece of hybrid legislation.
By the way, you all understand, like, I felt like I didn't need to say this, but I'm going to say it just to make it, like, more explicit. You guys realize how, like, militarizing the border would also, like, roll over into, like, the militarization of, like, detainment camps, and how that could easily be weaponized against, like, the American population in the form of, like, you know, discrimination against trans people, like we talked about earlier, you know, or gay people. The state of Texas explicitly, just a couple days ago, put out a notice from their members of their state Congress that, they do not recognize gay marriage, despite what the Supreme Court says. Like, we're not that far away, guys, from, like, well, trans people are degenerate. We need to separate them from the population. There are people saying that right now. I showed you a clip of it. There are people who go to conferences and will just come out and say, yeah, trans people are too dangerous to have in public. They shouldn't exist. And we're not that far away from the same being said of gay people or bisexual people. You know? Because what they'll do to an undocumented immigrant, they'll do to you when they conceive of you as a degenerate lawbreaker. Okay? Siblings being misgendered at their school, even though all family is supportive of them. That really sucks. I'm sorry, Junli.
That arbitrarily divides illegals into those with 5-year-old roots in America and those without, or some such mischief-making nonsense. If we do it right, not only will we solve the problem, we will get it done as one nation. I'm Charles Krauthammer for Prager University.
Well, the mass of people don't need to say that about trans people. Conservatives just need to say that about trans people. I know the majority of people in the United States support trans rights. However, a majority within the conservative side of the political spectrum do not support trans rights, and in fact actively oppose them. The same way, like, the majority of people in the United States support gay people, support gay marriage. But the majority of people within conservative circles do not do the same, which is why the conservative platform has been, and continues to be, explicitly anti-gay marriage. and we don't say that about trans. Well, you might not. Audible nod. You might not say that about trans people in your circles. But there's a reason why prominent Republican politicians can run on getting trans people out of sports. There's a reason prominent Republican politicians can run on bathroom bills. There's a reason that conservatives and Republicans can make trans, like discriminating against trans people, a cornerstone of their policy. And it's because a lot of people are okay with discriminating against trans people. Yeah, Ohio's right now trying to pass a bill banning any medical intervention for trans kids. Texas just passed a bill barring trans women from playing in women's sports. I think Texas also did something else recently. Texas trans bill. Let's see. Yeah. Just signed that a couple days ago. So you might not be like personally transphobic. It's just that there's a significant majority within the Republican Party that hates trans people and feels weird about trans people, that it shapes Republican policy towards trans people and makes it an effective thing to scaremonger about. Well, exactly. And we talked about this earlier, Red Menace Dragon. A lot of these politicians do not care, or will even like jerk off to like trans people in porn, or like talk about how trans people are degenerate on one hand, while at the other hand seeing like trans women escorts. Alex Jones, for example, talks about the degeneracy of trans people, how disgusting trans people are. Guess who was caught with transgender pornography on his phone, which is why he now uses paper cards instead of his phone on his show. Alex Jones. Or just today, we covered a story about a famously bigoted Ohio state lawmaker named Josh Mandel, who talked about how trans kids in school are a danger to the cis kids at a local school board meeting. He's not an old fuck. He's like 32. But he was also found having posed for a picture in drag not that long ago. So, there's just... Yeah. It doesn't, to be honest, guys, it doesn't matter if they genuinely genuinely believe the stuff they say about trans people or not. The end result is that it fucking hurts trans people. It is an attack on the civil rights of an entire group of people. I don't personally give a shit if Mitch McConnell likes trans people or not. What I give a shit about is the fact that Mitch McConnell feels comfortable enough stripping with his base that he is more than willing to strip the rights away from trans people if it serves his political agenda. That's what I care about. Yeah, exactly. By voicing these things that are politically expedient to them, it is a danger to trans people.